needs a great coach, and everybody needs guidance. And who better, than people that have served in the military at any level and in all the different branches. So right off the bat, I would just pass along my appreciation and for the service of all of you, the sacrifices, the personal and family sacrifices you all go through, the commitment, to our country, and the hard work, that you all put in the time away. It's remarkable. So I'm somebody who truly appreciates it, and I'm grateful for it. And I talked earlier just what a natural transition from being a soldier to being a coach at any level. It's important. I mean, you guys are all part of a team. You're part of team building and teamwork. No one gets it done alone. You've got to have each other working in concert with each other. Fighting with one another, respecting each other, learning how to deal with differences amongst each other, and still being able to work together for a common goal. Having humility to once in a while humble yourself to the good of somebody else or to the benefit of somebody else. But all that fighting and working together, to achieve and to overcome obstacles is a big deal. I know it is on any team, on a football team, basketball team, whatever it may be, baseball team, hockey team, tennis, whatever. And that's what you guys do on a daily basis. So you all know how to do it at whatever level you may enter the coaching realm. People have asked me, how many times I've been asked on an interview, if you weren't coaching, what would you have done? My answer has always been, I would have coached. I may not have been the head coach at Oklahoma, but I would have been a 8th grade basketball coach, a 9th grade baseball coach, or a high school football coach. Whatever I'd have done, I know this is what I was meant to do. And that's what I loved. And for all these years, 30 some years of coaching, I felt like I never worked. And it was my passion. It's what I loved. And I never felt like I was going to work. I was doing what I enjoyed, influencing young people, helping them achieve goals they might not have achieved on their own. And that's what it's all about, helping young people achieve and to reach up and strive for more. And it's incredibly rewarding, as you do it from year to year. And I was at one of the highest levels, and it wasn't about money. Let me tell you, I'm a product of a high school teacher and coach, one of 6 kids, grew up in a 3-bedroom, small little A-frame home in Youngstown, Ohio. My father never made, I don't think, more than $40,000. So it was never about money. And I say that because he wouldn't have traded his life for anybody's. And he would never have done what I did, regardless of the money. It wasn't what it was about. It was about, he loved what he did. He had so much fulfillment, from it, that money was irrelevant to him. He was just enjoying what he did, going to work every day, influencing young people, and competing and winning. That's what it's all about. And I'll say this too, as you all know, I get it. I'm being inducted into the College Hall of Fame this year, but that wasn't me. That was hundreds of people that helped me get to that position. Guys like, as Colonel mentioned, one of my assistant coaches, Tim Kish. I've had 100 some coaches through the years, assistant coaches. I've been a part of growing up and coming up in the college football under great coaches that have influenced me and helped me. So you don't do it alone. This profession requires you to hire good people, be around great people, and you're influenced by all those people, and all those people are part of my journey. And I'm so glad to be here to speak to all of you today, to encourage you to encourage you to stay on the path. It's incredibly rewarding. And if I can ever help, I'm here to do so. And I love it that this is Harrison, that you've put this in place, or whoever put it in place, that you're a part of it, and it continues to grow at such a great level. It's awesome. And I would tell all of you that it's incredibly rewarding once you're in it and starting to work and striving in it. Now, outside of that, I'm going to move it to Harrison. I'm not much on speeches. I'm not one to listen to them longer than 5 or 8 minutes, which I've gone. So I'm going to let Harrison kind of moderate this speech to kind of guide me on where you want to go from here. But well, appreciate all of you for sure.
What an outstanding message, Coach. And, I don't believe a word you're saying about you not being a good speaker, because that was fantastic. You definitely had some practice at it. But, we can't let you get out of here without mining some of your wisdom. Like you can't have 190 wins and just, be as humble as you are right now. There's something that you're doing, and we're going to try to figure out this. And so I have one question. It's going to be a higher level question, right? So more philosophy, right?
Philosophical.
Philosophical. Yeah, that's right. One of those. So, so my question is, when you took over at OU, right? That was back in 1999 is when you got that job, right?
Yes. My first year. Yeah.
You're coming from University of Florida, and you had so much success there as a coordinator. So what were some of the core behaviors you wanted to instill in your program for both like the coaches and the athletes alike? Like, how are you going to build this empire you created?
Yeah, I believe in simple terms. To me, it takes absolutely no talent to play smart, which are the basic fundamentals. You don't hurt yourself. In my business, of course, penalties, simple things. Play smart, be smart. You don't have penalties after a play, before a play, simple terms. It takes no talent to play hard, to give it all you got. One thing I tell my son plays for OU. I said, son, play hard. All you got to do is play hard and have fun. That's all you got to do. If you're playing hard as you can, it'll make up, it'll take care of itself. And the other is to be tough. There's no substitute in life. In whatever you're doing, you've got to be tough. And that's what sometimes teaching kids to be tough. You can do it though. And when I say that, it isn't by screaming at them and yelling at them, it's relate to them. Kids, I don't care, young people today, even at 20, 21, they think I got this big, bad defensive end. You say all you want, as tough as he is. When he walks to the locker room, you put your arm around him, that matters to that kid. It matters to him. If they know somebody cares about him, you don't know what the rest of his life is like. You may know a good point of it, but deep down, you may not know. And to me, it's all about relating to people. Get close to them, let them know you care about them and truly do care about them. And when you do, they'll do about anything for you. And to me, to play smart, play hard, and be tough was our motto from day one. And I said that if we do those things better than everybody else, we're gonna win more than we don't. And we did it at a big level. But I think teaching kids to be tough too in today's climate is part of it. But if you're not close to them, you can't do it.
Right. Yeah. I love what you're talking about, because everybody on this call here really understands the importance of coaches coaching people and then teaching the sport. Like everything you just said was about the person. You didn't mention one play or one scheme.
No.
You got some very successful defenses, like super successful, and offenses. So that leads me to the next question, right? And I think because everybody here is an aspiring coach, all of us, right? And you took a leap from being a coordinator to a first-time head coach. And so what was leadership like from the coordinator level, and how did that change and evolve for you, assuming the head coach role? Because you learned pretty quickly because you won a national championship like 1 year later. So,
Well, it was a big difference. I went from having to work with just part of the team and motivate them to the entire team. And truth be told, I took over a team. I know everybody looks at Oklahoma now, 21 years later, than when I took the program over, as well. We've always been good. When I arrived there, they had 5 straight losing seasons and hadn't beaten a ranked team in quite a while. So point being, I had taken over a team that had a really poor self-image, and they were really beat down. And I could tell, and really didn't have much of a work ethic, hadn't been taught how to truly work. So my whole mission to start with was to build up their self-image, to put everything positive I could in front of them, to show them in the past, all the great OU teams, that look, you can aspire to be this. This has been done here before. There's no reason we can't do it. And I appealed to their pride, their sense of being that, look, why can't we do this? And little by little, through the mindset, they started to feel 2 things. Well, sure. I mean, why not? If I'm going to be here working, why can't I do that? And we worked them so hard, and they accepted it, that they started to think, well, we're going to work this dang hard. Why in the heck shouldn't we not expect to win? And that was it. So it was building up their self-esteem, their self-pride, and letting them know they've worked hard enough to feel they deserve to win. And because just because you want to do it doesn't mean you're going to do it. You got to put in the fight, the work, the sweat and tears. But once you do, and I don't know, I'm speaking to the choir here. You guys know, you don't do all you guys have done without the work and the fight to get to where you are. But that was our motto: is it's been done here before. You guys have let this program, we never said that. It was all positive, but pointing out we haven't lived up to what Oklahoma's supposed to be, but now we're going to. And if you guys will do what we ask you to do, and we're going to be right there with you, and we'll get it done. And that was what it was about: building the self-pride and self-esteem and putting in the work.
yeah. Well, playing smart, playing tough, and having fun.
That's it.
Coach. Unbelievable. So thank you so much for sharing this wisdom and being with us today and giving us the vote of confidence, because, we're all working our own practices in coaching and leadership daily. It's like we've never arrived. We're always getting better. And you just invested in us tonight. So just thank you so much for coming by and supporting the To Sidelines mission.
It's my honor to be here with all of you. I respect the heck out of you. I love it, what you're doing. I truly do. Harrison, you have my number and email. If I can ever help you, I'm here to do so. And or if I can put you in touch with someone, I got a few numbers in my phone bank to turn you on to if you need to. All right.
Much appreciated, Coach. And I'll do that on behalf of everybody here tonight. So really appreciate the outreach, and I know how much you guard your personal information, so it's in good top secret hands for sure.
All right. Well, best of luck to all of you.
Thanks, Coach. Hit him long, hit him straight tomorrow. I'm rooting for you from afar.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Hey, you know what? I just want to say, I'm like watching this chat like rip up right now. This is what tonight's all about. Everybody's connecting, saying hi, exchanging your numbers, and like, let's keep doing this. Let's make the bond stronger within our tribe. Reach out to somebody. So, Achille King, who's come on board, is our national director of our new ambassador program that we're piloting these next 3 months. And we have a few ambassadors that we're, really proud of. And it's, some of our peers, our soldier coaches, who are with us tonight, and they're going to be reaching out, and the ambassadors are going to really help connect all of us in our respective geographic areas and help us get involved more in the community, like support other charities, do free youth clinics that we can, when we can, and at the same time, host some of those cool coaching socials that we used to do at the seminars. So those will all be free, clearly, but it's an opportunity for us to engage. And I know Brady Nix is helping us create a new workplace. So we have this tribe platform, and we're creating a new platform for everybody to connect, exchange numbers, hire each other, like grow each other, etc. So without further ado, I now want to turn the stage over to, a guy who doesn't really need an introduction, Colonel Greg Gadsden, who's on our advisory board, and he's one of the most motivational people I've ever met in my entire life. He's worked with Coach Stoops and helped out those Sooners, and he's got 2 Super Bowl rings because he said something to those New York Giants that wound up beating my ass in 2007 when I was coaching for the Skins, and I did not appreciate that. You didn't have to do that at that time, but thank you so much, and I think your talk tonight is super important in the parlance of our times.
All right.
Coach Gadsden.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Harrison, thanks very much for inviting me back and having me here. It really warms my heart to be around coaches. I'm a coach. I don't necessarily think of myself as a coach, but in my mind, I've been a coach for a long time. And Coach Stoops, it's so great to see you. I really got a big smile on my face, and then I've got some teammates here. We were talking about Coach Kiss earlier. So Bob Wagner, he's not going to say anything, but Bob was, we played the same position. He was a year behind me, and it's his birthday. So you guys need to say happy birthday to him, because this is his birthday. I called him up or called him up early today to wish him happy birthday. And I'm really proud to see him. Will Huff, who's my battle buddy, he's really made a great effort for us to get together physically, and I just love him for that. I get emotional talking about Will. I don't know if I'll talk about it some more, but this guy from the battlefield all the way to Germany flew with me when I got wounded, after I got wounded. And I saw Tom Mathers. Man, what a small world. I was actually talking to a gentleman at Morgan Stanley today that's known Tom since he was 9 years old. So, but Tom, it's great to see you. You look great. I don't see any gray hair, so you must be living right. So you got a special crew here. For all of you who have served or still serving, thank you so much for your service. This is a great program, and to me, what you guys are going into and being coaches outside of the military is you're paying it forward or giving back, because you're deciding to make an influence on people that we need to make an influence in our society. And I honor the track that you're taking, and I wish you all the luck. And if there's anything I can ever do to assist you, please don't hesitate. So as Harrison and I were talking about what I would talk about, and I was just kind of sharing with him some of the things that, of course, have been going on in our lives, and obviously the top of mind is certainly the pandemic, and really, how it's sort of changed life, and I can talk about, perspective, and, again, it's just a reminder of really what we control in life and what we don't. And so oftentimes we fall in love and we think, because things are going the way we want, that we're in control of life. But we all know, or have a similar saying that, no plan survives first contact. I mean, that's the essence of sport. That's the essence of coaching, is that you're able to adjust. If everything followed your plan, then you wouldn't need us. So that's the unique and special thing about being in the military, is that we're able to think on our feet, and we're able to adjust when things don't go our way, which is most of the time. And this pandemic in a lot of ways has done that, and you see so many folks in our society struggling because things aren't going their way, and I suppose many of us are not saying that we're flourishing, but we have a perspective of our service that I think certainly enables us to kind of deal with the uncertainty with it. Lastly, I think top of mind is that this pandemic has really shown a light on some inequities in our society, some challenges that we continue to have in our society, some that have existed my entire life and before me. And of course, many of you know that one of the buzzwords today is diversity and inclusion. And I was talking to Will about this, a couple of months ago, and I said, a lot of times people think that if they have a diverse organization, that they have an inclusive organization, and because they make that assumption, that's where we fail right off the bat, because I believe that diversity does not equal inclusion. It's a step and it's part of the process of having an inclusive organization, but diversity does not equal inclusion. But what I will tell you is that inclusion equals team. If you are going to have a successful team, if you're going to have a functioning team, then it's inclusive. It's inclusive by definition. And so are you building a team? Are you building an inclusive organization? And some of the aspects of leadership that, I'll try to expand a little bit on when I talk about this is, what are those subtle, I think I say subtle, I don't feel like they're emphasized as much, but there's three I want to focus on is empathy, humility, and transparency. You all know within a minute of meeting a leader, meeting a coach, whether or not this person is the real deal, is going to be somebody that looks out for you. It's going to be someone that's going to be honest, and we take it for granted. But leadership is not necessarily being in control. Okay, look, you're the head coach, you're the colonel, you're the sergeant major, you're in charge of, everybody knows that. Okay, you don't have to remind everybody that. And it's not an exercise of power. Actually, it's to me, it's an exercise of giving. It's an exercise of you being able to give and empower and allow the organization to maneuver and be agile, and not you holding on with a death grip. So when I was selected to command a battalion back, and I took over in 2005, the battalion that I had didn't exist. It literally had to be built from the ground up. We didn't have any equipment, we didn't have any personnel, and of course we were not trained. So, and many of you may find yourselves kind of going into there, and I can tell you there were no books that I could find that told me how to go about this. And I fell back on my days as an athlete, as on my memories of playing Army football for Coach Jim Young, who built his program around the ideas of pride, poise, and team. Now, I'm not gonna focus on, I don't want to focus too much on pride and poise, but let's just say that pride, to me, in a nutshell, functionally comes back to accountability. Your personal accountability as an individual first. You living up and being accountable to yourself, because if you can't be accountable to yourself, then you can't hold anybody else around you accountable. Poise is about character. That's, guys, that men and women, that's doing the right thing for the right reason all the time. That is who you are as an organization, as an individual. You take shortcuts, you look for the easy way. at the end of the day, when things start going south, when things become difficult, your real character comes out. And so you got to build an organization of character with individuals of character and hold yourselves accountable. But what I really want to focus on is team, because team is about inclusivity. Look, not one time in my 26 years in the Army did I ever pick any of my teammates. You talk about drafting or picking, the Army gave them to me. And I felt it was my responsibility to make this, I was in charge when I was in charge, or whether I wasn't in charge, whatever my span of influence was, it was about making sure that we were effective and we were functioning, we were maximizing our ability. And that inherently says that in order to maximize your ability, you have to take advantage of everybody's ability. And you can't do that if you're not an inclusive organization. If you're not an inclusive leader, you fundamentally cannot take advantage and maximize the strengths of your team. You're not going to do that. Now, maybe you are going to be successful to a degree, but at some point, somebody that's doing that better than you will beat you. And so building a strong team is about building an inclusive organization. And that is that everybody is treated with dignity and respect. There is not one person in the organization that is more important than the other. So that was the private, or was that the CO, the lieutenant colonel? Everybody was equal. Everybody had value, and that was non-negotiable. And that was non-negotiable in the battalion and in the organization I ran. Well, I say as fate would have it, as we were preparing to deploy to Iraq as part of the surge in 2007, the medic that was assigned to my personal security detachment, he broke his ankle during PT and he couldn't deploy with us immediately. I asked for a replacement medic, and the Army didn't have one they could provide for me. My headquarters First Sergeant Ackerman, suggested and sent my chemical specialist, a PFC, sent my chemical specialist to a 2-week emergency medical training course at Kansas State University. And he would finish this course literally within days before we were going to deploy. Well, they came back to me and they were going to put Private Brown in one of my subordinate platoons and bring up a school-trained medic to put back in my personal security detachment. And so I said no. I said no on the basis of really all the training and preparation that had been done. I didn't want to disrupt any of my platoons and what they had rehearsed and practiced on, just to pull a medic out. But I think more personally and more privately, what was I saying if I were to make that swap? My life is more important than yours, or I'm more important than you. And so I said, no. I said, if this young man is good enough for my soldiers, then he's good enough for me. And so I kept him as my medic. Well, I could have never imagined. I'm telling you, it's not anything I imagined, but that young man, when I was wounded on May 7th, 2007, is the young man that saved my life. He is the young man that put the tourniquets on my leg, that the doctors give him credit. I went through 129 pints of blood. Will Huff up here in the crowd, he was there. I mean, he wasn't in the spot when I was wounded, but he saw me, and he would fly with me all the way as I was evacuated all the way to Germany. So he can attest to the condition I was in. It was violent, and I can just tell you 131 U.S. service members paid with their lives in the month of May of 2007 alone. So it was as violent as I've ever time period that I've ever experienced in my time in the military. So look, you know, we as leaders are always setting an example. We, you know, that goes without saying. Sometimes they're trite sayings, but we're on display, and inclusion goes both ways. And so as you're building your team, those are things that you really got to think about. Does your staff look like your team? Does your staff look like the folks that you're leading? Now, I'm not saying this is a quota. I'm not saying you got to match, but just think, they're young men and women that are looking up to you guys, and you're laying the groundwork for future leaders that are going to be future leaders in our world. Some are going to join the military. Some are going to go into corporate. Some are going to go into public sector. That doesn't matter, but you can show them what right looks like. You can show them what an inclusive, they can feel what an inclusive organization looks like. Now, my last point about inclusion is that it's intentional. These things don't happen by accident, ladies and gentlemen. You can let them happen by accident, or you can be intentional. And when I say being intentional, those are the questions that you got to ask. You got to always be thinking about your organization and how it's interacting with each other, how it's being received. If you see a coach that is not living up to your values in terms of respect or terms of coaching, you've got to correct that. You can't stand for that. All those little things become fractures. You tacitly or intentionally or unintentionally underwrite the behaviors of all your coaches, the behavior of how your organization looks. And so that's the burden of leadership. That's the burden of being a leader, is that you can't allow any space. You can't allow your standards of decorum or conduct to be compromised. And when they are, you have to address them. So, you know, that's what I kind of wanted to talk about when we think about building a team and building an inclusive organization, and what some of the things that you need to think about as you look at your organization, as you and those that they're leading and mentoring and coaching and growing.
Greg, that's awesome. I mean, do you have time for a couple?
Oh yeah, plenty of time.
If we have questions, just kind of like say I have like put a question mark in the chat so I know, and we have time for just a couple. I just don't want everyone just talking all at once, because there's 100-something of us on this call right now. So if you want to talk to Coach, we'll just wait for these to come in here, Greg. Times they pop in. Yeah. So while folks are thinking about questions, man, I was reading this chat. It's so cool. So a teammate of Greg has become an anonymous donor and is going to match up to $5,000 of donations tonight. So it looks like, as I look in the chat here, a whole bunch of you folks are already donating. That's super cool. So I think this is like a one-night thing only. So I guess that donation talk really hit home, and we really appreciate that. Like, again, these events tonight and none of these benefits are possible without donations from One Our Soldier coaches and the community at large. So that would be awesome if we can meet this $5,000 challenge. That's a surprise. Really cool. Hey,
Coach, could you ask?
Oh, you just muted yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you ask Bob Wagner to talk about the wide nine technique?
Yeah. Before we get
That's
Victor
a joke,
Garner.
Coach. No, don't ask him to.
Yeah, no. I love the inside
That's
stuff.
Mathers.
So, Victor Gardner, you have a question. You want to unmute yourself and ask Greg?
Thank you, Harrison. Sir, how are you doing?
I'm well, Victor.
Great, great. I'm Sergeant First Class Victor Gardner, currently serving at JBLM Public Affairs. I'm on a COVID mission right now here in Abilene, Texas. But I've been interested in your story, from the injury, going into Hollywood, being a public speaker, things of that nature. Can you share with the group how all of your football knowledge at West Point, taking it into the military, because you know you guys were big and you had to slim back down to meet the height and weight standards. And as an officer, you had to portray a certain image. How did all of that translate into your career path where you are today? Because I have a few soldiers currently, NCOs, young NCOs. And when I got them, their first thing to me was, well, you know, I'm gonna get out. There's more money out there. It's this, that, and the third. It's blah, 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 blah. I said, look, I joined saying I'm only gonna do 3 years. I didn't complete OCS, but now I'm knocking on my retirement. So can you share with us, those that are in, those that are out, and those that are coaches, because I like to coach, done semi-pro, done high school, stuff like that. Can you share with us your journey and your matriculation through the process?
Okay, well, I have to have another show for this, but I appreciate your question. So first of all, I didn't have to lose any weight. All the guys that play with me, I was 190 pounds. So I was already at the height, outside linebacker. So I didn't have to lose a pound. I didn't plan on making a military career. My motto was 5 and fly. I had a 5-year service obligation. Ironically, I wanted to get involved with football. I was thinking maybe I'd be like a high school football coach and teach or whatever. I just loved the game. But I fell in love with being a soldier. Now, I didn't automatically go, oh, I'm going to do 20. I just kind of said, I'm going to keep doing this until I don't want to do it anymore. And then finally, when I got to about year 13, I said, well, I think I want to be a battalion commander, and I'll do that, and I'll get out at 20. I got wounded at year 17, and I felt like I still had a little bit in the gas tank, and I didn't want them to throw me out. So I had to go through all the medical stuff. I was found unfit, obviously, because of my injuries, but I applied through a continuation on an active duty program, and I was approved to stay in. I ended up getting promoted, and then I commanded a garrison at Fort Belvoir. Now, kind of football, and I say sport, football was my sport. I think one of the enduring things that I took from it, that I took and I live today, is your ability to kind of be in the moment. You can only play, some of those guys are going to smile, but you can only play the play you're in. You can't play the last play, and you can't play the next play. And when you hone that as an athlete, when you hone your ability to be able to forget a bad play, or not be, resting on your ass because you had a good play, and not worry about a play that's yet to happen. I mean, that's the essence of life. That is really the essence of life. And you know what? I'm going to say at some point, I kind of forgot it. I mean, there are times when things are difficult, you can kind of zero in and focus on the task at hand. But for me, when I was wounded, my legs were gone. So there was no looking back. And in terms of my future, I had no vision. I mean, I literally had, what does my life look like when without legs. And so the absence of visualizing a future and understanding it was nothing to pass, I focused once again in the present. Let me just take one day at a time. Let me just deal with what's in front of me, and the rest will reveal itself. And so now, I mean, that, you know, it's a heck of a reinforcing lesson, but that's where I try to reside. I mean, I can't say I don't think about the future. There's a time to think about the future, but when I'm doing something, I'm doing it. And that is where, you know, I've grown immensely. And that's what, again, that's what sport does, gives us the ability to do. And it's a lesson that is just stuck with me in my entire life. So.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. And so we have more and more questions coming in right now, which is exciting, but we only have 5 minutes left. And, you know, I think it goes without saying, should we do one of these again in the future? Like, is it fun? Do you guys like it? Because we're happy to do this, you know, with different speakers and stuff, if this is something that everyone's vibing on. But anyway, the next in line for questions was Michael Seda. You want to unmute yourself and ask Greg a question?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Harrison, and thank you, sir. I am Warrant Officer Mike Seda. I'm down here at JBLE in Fort Eustis. And sir, you talked about you know, being a good leader and not having to, you know, let individuals know that you are that leader. And then you went on to say, do not be the underwriter of, and excuse me if I got the verbiage wrong, but I was kind of taking notes as you were talking, sir. So you said, do not be the underwriter of subpar or non-standard performance or behavior. With that being said, I do coaching out here, but I also, you know, try to coach, you know, my young soldiers around here. How do I get not only my young soldiers, but my superiors to follow that guidance that you gave, sir?
Well, you know, it's always a little bit, there's always a little bit of, I guess, what's the word I want to use? Decor that you need when you're dealing with your bosses. And you know, but I always know that you can lead from the rear. When I was a battery commander, my chief of firing battery, I'd been in command for a few months or so, and we had just executed a drop zone mission. And I remember we had done an AAR, and after the AAR, my chief of firing battery came to me and said, sir, you can lead, you can run things, or you can be in charge, but you can't do both. Just let us know which one you want to do, and then we'll adjust. Well, I tell you, man, it was a gut punch to my morale, but he was absolutely telling the truth. And so it was a growth moment. I've had bosses that were a little bit tough to deal with. But I think from my perspective, what I've done is I haven't compromised my position. And you know, I've had to say my piece with the door closed, and sometimes lost some battles. But it's not whether you win all the time. Maybe in the end I might lose, but I didn't compromise my integrity. I didn't compromise what I wanted to do. And so, look, you can't go in there and say, hey man, you're an asshole or whatever, that kind of stuff. But you know, be professional. And you know, I believe more times than not that if you're doing the right thing, that's gonna come to the top, and that's gonna carry you through. And you just got to kind of stick to that. And because, you know, when you do the right thing, you never have to remember it because you did the right thing. When you start making up shit, when you start going sideways, now you got to keep track of that stuff. And I'm not smart enough to keep track of that stuff. So I'm just going to do what I know is right. I can always remember that.
Great, coach. Great answer. So, hey, you know, you wouldn't be the leader you are if you weren't able to end exactly on time. So I know there's like a whole bunch of questions here, and we're going to do this again because everybody just was with a resounding yes to do this again. And it's such a cool way to create these connections. My heart is warm looking at all of these incredible connections happening on the chat right now. Like, this is exactly the point. Strengthen the tribe. We are better together. I mean, people are offering job opportunities back and forth through this thing, coaching opportunities. People are exchanging phone numbers. So cool. So we are going to keep this thing going, and let's make a go of it. Let's try to make this $5,000 donation goal tonight. So if anyone signs up new for the MDP, like, that counts as a donation. Like, there it is. And, you know, we want to be able to grow and cultivate all of us through our courses, through our interactions, through our live events, through our Zoom events, and then through like our ambassadorship and our mentorship. I mean, we have some folks on this call tonight that really work the MDP process so well that they've actually have used SkillBridge and other tactics to get Division I coaching jobs. And that's the way it's done. Like, we just do it together. So I just appreciate everybody being here for tonight. Go visit the donation page if you haven't already. Become an MDP member, because that's like better than donating. And stay tuned for more events like this. We are going to do this again. And I just can't thank our partners, our sponsors, and our donors enough. And especially Coach Greg Gadson and Coach Bob Stoops for just putting together such an informative, wonderful presentation tonight. I love you all. Thank you. I love seeing you. Have a great night.